Good evening. It's just gone 6 on Thursday, the 2nd of April. Yeah, I got it right this time. And we're talking about the advice to wannabe writers, which is going to be very interesting because I've got lots I can say to on both the good and constructive for wannabe writers. But we'll go Andy, then Shaun, then I may chip in. If you'd like to introduce yourselves and then we shall crack on with the topic. So, Andy, good evening. Lovely to see you back again.
Yes, and you. I'm Andrea Woolhead. I'm the writer of one non-fiction book, and so I'm really sort of new to this game. So I've probably got sort of more advice on sort of what not to do rather than what to do. But
Which is still
I'll share
important.
whatever I've got.
Yeah. Oh, there's your printer going. That's very cool. Shaun, lovely to have you here.
Yes, hello.
You joined us in January, and
Yes.
I know the Monday mini fests were out of your reach for a day job,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah,
lovely
we
to
had,
have you in the
yes, now we
T&Ts.
play. Yeah.
Yes. So do tell us about you and your writing.
So, me of old, but I'm Shaun Allan. I tend to write psychological horror, the way I've done a introspective poetry collection. I've written about a dozen books and have written for films such as The Page, Quiet Place, and It, and that kind of thing. I was contracted to Wattpad for a long time, but
Was that just for short stories, Wattpad?
I started, so I could only write on them. And this on my, sorry,
Oh, was
what's Wattpad? I'll
was
tell you in a minute.
Wattpad just short
Some
stories?
of my
Oh yeah,
that's some of my covers, yeah, on my laptop. So no, Wattpad is it's like one of the biggest literary platforms in the world.
right.
When I joined about 14 years ago,
Mm,
they had probably about 30 million unique visitors a month. Now it's about 115 million or something like that.
blimey.
The owners, Ivan and Ivan and Alan, who I know, who took me over to Canada and stuff. They sold it to a Korean media corporation for $750 million. So that's how big it is. But they worked with, because they were so big, they worked with film companies and that kind of thing. Some Netflix things were from them, like the Kissing Booth and the After series, Anna Todd, and all those. They're
Yeah.
ladders.
Because I had a short story back in the day, so probably 20 years ago. No, they've only been going 14, probably early days.
No, I've been on there 14 years.
Oh, have you? Okay. And
Been doing
I think did they, because I got the impression they started off as short stories, or
yes.
whether it was I just did short stories because that's all I did back then, maybe.
Yeah, originally
Yeah.
it was short stories and like public domain stories on there as well.
Okay.
It was it was a bit like Windows, really. They just started it in their garage. But
Wow.
yeah, I went on there with Sin, and they liked to ask me to serialize it. I became one of their OG stars, and yeah, then film companies were asking after me to work with them for the big films and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we'll talk about, because obviously we're going to talk about advice for wannabe writers. So going back to the beginning, I know Andy, you sort of fell into writing. Did you have any? Because you wrote about sport, about tennis, wasn't it originally?
Yeah,
Um, and
those were magazine articles.
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
had anybody given you any advice at any point about you and your writing?
Do you mean from the magazine articles or starting the book?
Just start it, well, at any point.
Um,
Um,
Absolutely no. I was sort of thrown into the deep end. It was basically you teach English,
right.
you can write the articles.
Okay.
And there's a very big difference between teaching and sitting there and sort of putting yourself out there. And my first sort of feeling about it is when you have something published, it's the equivalent of walking down the local high street with no clothes on. You know, you're exposed to absolutely everybody. And I just found sort of being published a really scary experience.
Really?
And yeah, and then somebody came up to me and told me that they'd read my article and they thought it was really interesting. And I was okay for the following month's article after that. But the first time if I could have hid my head under a stone, I think I would have done,
Really?
until it all passed over. Uh,
That's funny because my mum kept saying, "Oh, because I was writing a lot for pleasure," and my mum kept saying, "Oh, hurry up and get something published because I want to tell people that you're a published author." And the first thing was a 50-word, was 60-word short story piece of microfiction in the Woman's Weekly magazine. And it was I'd sent them a list, an A4 sheet with all of these 60-word stories, and they picked the first one, and I think I just called it Payback, and they changed the title to Pizza Payback, and I got £10 for it, and I was thrilled, and thank you, and I thought, and I still have the copy. It was quite a pretty colour check actually, and so I took a colour photocopy of it. And so my mum could say that now I was a published, I mean, whether a 60-word story counts. But because it was the first one on the list of ones I'd sent them, I thought, great, they're going to publish one each month now.
Yeah.
And it was in their sort of fiction monthly.
Yeah.
And then so I rushed out. I bought about 6 copies and then rushed out the next month to buy another 6 copies because I was going to be in the next one.
Yeah.
And they'd stopped doing the 60-word stories. So I'd effectively killed off Woman's Weekly 60-word stories and had nothing else published.
No, you'd peaked. They realised you couldn't better what you'd done.
Yeah.
Well, that's a nice
way
to
point?
think of it.
You're peerless. Nobody could match you.
Well,
Randy, yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. Shaun, did you have any advice sort of early on that you can think of?
No, well, not really. Not to be a writer as such. I've written since I was about 5 years old. I'm clearly not near 5 now. But my English teacher was amazing, Mr. Staniforth, and everybody who had him thinks he was amazing as well for English. Somebody at the writing group I go to, who's there now, was in the year above me and had him, and the wife of somebody who's in the writing group was in the year below me and had him, and he was just the best. He had the right attitude. He read To Kill a Mockingbird to the class, and he just had the right gravity in his voice to deliver that. And everybody would just like hanging on every word. And that's when I thought, that's what I want to do. And English was my best subject, my favourite subject. So he was really supportive. So on the writing side of it, he was really supportive and that. And in fact, because of that, I now own a first edition of To Kill a Mockingbird. I've got a clock tattooed up here, and it breaks off, and the bits turn into mockingbirds. And I went to see Mr. Staniforth about 8 years ago, I think. Somebody who I used to go to school with knew his address, so gave it to me, and I went. And he still sounded the same, looked the same, even after all these years. And he remembered me, and I'd actually dedicated the book partly to him, and he appeared in the book as well, which was quite cool. But it was really weird. And he told me I had to call him Roger, because obviously I was an adult. I had to call him Roger, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
No. Well, my English, well, he wasn't. He was my form teacher in the last year. I think it was year 10 in my primary school, was Mike O'Toole. And he was a customer of my dad, so I knew his full name, and we were very friendly anyway, because my dad was a photographer and had a photographic shop. And so Mike used to bring his films in. And he made such a difference. He was the reason why I passed my, whatever it was then, 11 plus, 12 plus. But teachers make all the difference, don't they?
Yeah.
They can make all the difference. Good or bad. I was nearly put off, and I say this in my WI talks, I was nearly put off progressing with writing about 20 years ago. because I moved up to Northampton and did various evening classes, and then spotted creative writing, and it was a critique group, run by a published crime author, and I took along a poem, and I write very little poetry, and I took this along, and I say this in my WI group talks, that I'd read this poem and it got pulled apart, and I drove home thinking that was horrible. I don't want to go back again. And I say this, and they usually crack up. And but she'd set the homework to write a crime short story, and here I am 20 years later.
Yeah.
So it was all right. I just say, get over yourself. You're gonna have worse. You're gonna have
somebody I
worse
know.
than Sally Spedding saying that your poetry is chopped up prose.
Yeah, well, yeah, but my somebody I know, somebody goes to who had Mr. Steinfurth. She was originally in another English class with a different teacher, and that teacher apparently was just brutal with everybody,
Really?
crossing out bits and all this sort of stuff. And then happened to say to her, after she'd moved to Mr. Steinfurth, happened to say to her that she wasn't that bad, but they were just saying it to make her push herself more, and it didn't. It just made her feel really bad about everything she was doing.
No. Well, at school we had a careers advisor, and I think it was a male careers advisor come in, and he said, "Well, you're female." This was early 80s, early mid 80s, and he said, "Well, you're female. You can either go and be a nurse or a secretary, and you're not clever enough to be a nurse." And I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I ended up being a secretary because I didn't know what else to do. And I wrote this one, 115,640 words in 28 days, because I could type really quickly. Because I went and did a secretary. And now we watch 24 Hours in A&E, and I think, no, I'd have made a rubbish nurse. So, Andy, what have you learned? Have you learned anything in the... I know we have a publishing horror story, but is it too early to say that you've learned something from writing?
Yes, I have actually, because I've realized my writing process. Not that I purposely went into it. I was asked to write a book, Shaun. So it wasn't like I had an idea and I was going to put it together. The idea was already there. And
This is the
I
fiction book.
realized as I was doing the writing,
Biography.
I would use the analogy of having a garden, a blank space. And before you start planting things, you think about where they're going to go.
Yeah.
And so I think my style of writing is like sort of setting out and designing a garden. You know, you put a tree in one corner and something else, and the gazebo goes somewhere else. Then you realize that there's some smaller plants need to fill in, and then something doesn't fit, so you move it somewhere else until you have the thing that you're completely satisfied with. But I do tend to sort of move chunks of my work around to make it flow. And also, you get rid of some weeds, don't you, along the way?
Yes. Yes.
Your darling.
Things that don't quite fit. So I actually feel that that's my particular style of writing. And I sit at the computer and I have a mind map and arrows and squiggles and pictures and things sort of moving up and down.
Wow.
And that sort of keeps me focused on where I'm going, but I don't write the book in a linear fashion. I've actually got 3 chapters of the sequel, going at the same time.
Do you want to explain, Andy, to Shaun, your first book?
Okay. Yes, mine is a true story about a major general from the political intelligence in Syria. And when Assad fell, he asked me to write his story down. And sort of accidentally, we spent lockdown together. So I got to know him well. I knew him before when he was an important person in Syria. but he ended up in one of those dungeons and went. It affected him terribly badly
Yeah.
mentally, and he got out and he got across Europe, and then Sweden didn't accept him. Because they thought he was one of Assad's men.
Mm.
He they didn't want him to stay. He was a threat, so they were going to deport him back to Syria. But he went back to Syria in December 2025 for the first anniversary of the fall of Assad. And he found out that there were 8 different ministries had got a sort of a warrant against him. So
Wow.
had Assad still been in power, he would have been executed had he returned to Syria.
Wow.
So yeah, he's a very, very interesting person, but I never set out, I never thought, it wasn't one of my bucket list things that I wanted to sit down and write a story. But I actually quite enjoy the process of writing.
Yeah.
I regularly contribute to magazines and I blog, but the thought of 80 plus thousand words, I couldn't sort of imagine writing that amount. But once the story started to unfold, the
Yeah.
words came really easily.
I think it helps with having the person with you because he doesn't live that far away from you, does
No,
he? So you're
no,
able to collaborate
yeah,
on it and on the
yeah,
sequel.
yeah, yeah.
John has joined us. John and Tim from New Street Authors were in the chat, have been in the chat. So John's now joined us on camera for the
I've
first
eaten
time. Welcome.
and I'm just taking my medicine. So
That's absolutely
Yeah.
fine. I have mine here. So
Just water, honest.
um,
Hang on.
gin or vodka, you two? John,
I'll take the food.
how long have you been writing, John?
well, it all started for me in COVID when we were all doing nothing,
Ah,
and my daughter made some little clay head figures with
okay.
just a hat, a nose, and a beard, no eyes. That was the thing.
Yeah.
And I looked at them. She made quite a few, and they were like wizards and all sorts of things, Vikings and whatever.
Mm,
I just wrote a little story about them, and I thought, oh, this can be developed into a book.
mm.
So I wrote some more bits and bobs, and I wanted to do 27 of them. And so I thought, well, I'm not doing 27 in one book. Let me think about this. So I put together a 10-book series. The first 7 books are based on the color of the rainbow. Books 8 and 9 are black wizards and white wizards. And then book 10 is where everything comes together. And I can't tell you the ending because I'll have to shoot you all. But it wasn't just writing a story for kids. I built in educational elements as well.
Mm.
So, I mean, this is the last one I got published, The Orange Wizards.
Love the cover.
Wow.
Love the cover.
And what I did was in the chapters, I mean, I've done illustrations as well.
Mm.
You could probably just about see that the different coloured words there.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yeah, in red.
So the more difficult words I highlighted.
Right, it's a good idea.
At the end of the chapter, I put them in a whiz dictionary
Oh,
so
nice.
they could understand what the word means.
Yeah,
before
yeah.
moving on. And in this book, there are 108 new words, possible new words for the children to read.
Oh,
And there's fun facts about crystals because it's a collection of crystals they have to collect as well on their journeys. So the first 7 books all happen in the same timeline.
okay.
So it doesn't matter where you come in. But 8 and 9 are going to be a little bit different.
Right.
And then obviously the 10th book is where everybody gets to where they should get.
Yeah.
And it might work out. But there's fun facts as well about the colour and fun facts about the crystals and there's a moral to every book. And there's a summarizing poem at the end of each chapter, so they can just quickly go over and think, "Oh, I remember that." And it's just a little bit fun, but
Yeah.
educational at the same time.
Exactly.
So I devised this great big chart,
Yeah.
10 books, put all the colours in, put the characters' names in, chapter 1 to 7, what they did, and of course you've got to remember all these words that you've put in. So they all went into an Excel spreadsheet, so I didn't use the same one twice. And you know, for a simple little book, there's a hell of a lot of work there. And I've got a fourth one, sort of 3/4 of the way through. But the guy who's doing the illustrations, he's had a change in life. He's had another baby. He's changed his job. He came off LinkedIn for a while because he just hadn't the time. And I spoke to him a fortnight ago. He said, "Yeah, I'm still interested," and blah blah blah. And I said, "Okay, here's the chapters, and this is the sort of image I want." And
so like Andy,
I haven't received anything from him. So
like Andy, you presumably, I mean, it sounds as if you fell into writing. So you didn't, because a lot of people have sort of some kind of background and they think, oh, I'd really like to write. They say everybody has a book in them, but they've always wanted to write or got an idea for something, and maybe somebody's encouraged them, as our school teachers did.
Well, my one book turned into 10.
Yes, no, exactly. And have you learned anything having gone? I mean,
I've learned a hell of a
big
lot.
question to ask.
Oh yeah, I've learned a hell of a lot how to lay a book out as well. That's all part and parcel. You know, it's all right. Just thing was to do is just to type, get it down, and the formatting's been a big learning curve. You know, and illustrations as well, getting those the right size so they all conform in the book. So you haven't got a big one, a small one, and it's prompted me to move on to more adult books, which I've done. The Perfume Bottle.
Oh yes.
Which is based on my mother's perfume bottle, which I didn't know she had. I found it she died 3 years ago. My dad died 2 years ago, and we found that was a perfume. In fact, I've got it.
Yes,
I've got it. Let me show you.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to read out, Tim has said, because Tim's here from New Street Authors as well. He said, for me, I've been teaching for about 3 years, had been teaching for about 3 years. So I was about 25 and was put on a teacher's course when you had to write as part of the course. I was always a reader, but I'd never considered that people like me were allowed to write. Me too. Well, in my teens, I read Stephen King's books. I blame him for me wearing glasses, torch under the duvet, and read voraciously, but it never occurred to me that I could do it as a job. I was always a reader, but never considered. But I wrote, as I wrote, the course tutor said, these are rather good. And I had to write for the course. And then about a year later, I was writing textbooks for OUP. So that's Tim's background.
Well, I came from an engineering background, 49 years in engineering, and I was writing quality manuals, quality procedures, work instructions, technical documents. So I suppose that little bit helped me along the way. But writing kids.
I'm actually head of technical publications for Siemens Energy now. So which is something similar.
I think anybody who's written for business in any industry, it's given them a good deadline, that you have to stick to a deadline, and also how to trim your word count, especially if you write. Andy was writing articles for magazines. They only had a certain amount of space, so you had presumably a fairly strict word count.
Usually about 500 words.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about half a page in a magazine.
That's not much. So Shaun, loaded question. Do you have, because obviously you've had a few days to be booked onto this, if somebody said to you one piece of advice for a wannabe author, a newbie, could you whittle it or give us 3 or as many as you like?
Well, you have to read. You have to read because you learn a lot. You just take it in by almost like osmosis by reading. You talked about Stephen King. I think his book on writing is very good in some of the things it says, which I was quite pleased about when I read that, because I was kind of the way he said to write was kind of the way I wrote, which was pretty good. But yeah, you have to write, which is probably the worst part of being a writer, that you have to write.
But isn't it fun though when you do it? Because even
It is,
even for planners who plan a lot in advance,
which
there's
I'm
still
not.
the discovery writing where you write something and your brain goes, well, actually, instead of doing this, let's do this, and you create
Yes.
new characters and get to
Yeah.
know your
I
characters.
was talking to somebody about it last night, actually, at the writers' group. But I don't plan. The only time I sometimes write the odd note. The only time I've known what the ending's going to be was when I wrote the story for the second page film, and I wrote the first the very first part, and then I immediately wrote the last sentence because I knew exactly where it was going to end. But apart from that, I don't. It's like in my book Hollow, which is in the other room. There's a character in it who just happened to meet, and I didn't know she was going to meet her till she met her. And then there's a big twist about this character, and I didn't know that was going to happen until it happened. And I kind of think that if I'm surprised by it, then the reader's likely to be surprised by it. And people have been really shocked about it, to the point where I was asked multiple times to write her story, this side characters, and she's not in it for very long, but she just kind of makes an impact. So I thought I'll write a little short story about it, and that ended up being a bit more than just a little short story. Yeah,
I love it. I love it when you get to do something in After Jessica, which is at the top there. There's a character, a bit of a thug, called Rick, and there's just a scene where he goes into Jessica's house, and he's looking for something and can't find it, and he gets a book from the bookshelf, leaves it in the sink, in a dry sink, leaves it open, and that just to mess with her head. And well, it's actually the brother who comes in. She's gone at the beginning, and I'd like to do something with him, and it's fun, I think, to have these characters and be able to develop them, give them a bigger voice. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Andy, I know your journey has been relatively short so far, but are there things that you think, apart from you can include the publishing, that you've done that you, again, it's difficult because there are so many aspects to the writing career, things that you think you wouldn't do again, or maybe changes from the first book to the second book?
Actually, the second book's growing in the same way that the first book grew. So either I haven't learned by my mistakes, or I was satisfied with the mistakes I made the first time. But I think the big advice, and don't I let things stew in my head before they go down, and then I write something and then I go away and it's still sort of going around in my head, and I want to change it and I want to do something with it. So I think the biggest advice is get something down, get something concrete down, and then do something with it. Don't think about it, just do it. And also, when you write, it's a form of communication. You're sending a message from your brain out to somebody or some people. So you've got to think about who you're writing for and how they're going to receive the book. So I think that would be my advice. Get it down on paper and think about the message you're sending out there.
John,
sorry. I was just going to say, I don't tend to do that because I write the story as the story goes. I don't look at what's going to come after it. I'm there to write, rather than seeing the message. The message comes out in the story, I hope.
And do you, Shaun, while you're on, do you write it, and at what point do you start the editing process? Do you write the whole thing and then go back and edit it, or do you do a chapter?
I will refer back or reread bits and think, oh, I'll just change that. But generally, I'll write the book and see how it comes out and then go back and edit it. Sometimes I want to edit and know what I want to change, but then when I read it back, I quite like how it went. I mean, I was in Luxor and I was in Luxor for a week, and even though I did like the Valley of the Kings and everything, I wrote 15,000 words, hand wrote 15,000 words, and then had to type it up when I got home. and I changed hardly anything because I just that was with Sin, and I really liked how it came out. But yeah,
we were talking about this on Tuesday about the writing process, and I said because there were three of us, and we said that we all write on the computer because these days you tend not to write and it's a lot slower. And I said it's a shame that we can't write it because apparently our brain works in a different way from typing as it does to writing by hand, and it's a shame we can't do both from scratch.
Well, yeah, I do have this, which I bought kind of for my new job, but also bought for writing. So when I went to Albania last year, I used this, and so it's like a Remarkable thing. It's a similar thing to a Remarkable. So I
does it convert from handwriting into text?
So that's my handwriting, and then it will convert that to using AI. It'll convert it to text, which is very, very good when it does it, and even with my scroll, and then I can just put that straight into Word because it ties into OneDrive where all my Word documents are and that kind of stuff. So if I'm away from my laptop or I'm at work or on a flight, for example, I grab that out, and I think on the plane for Albania, I finished my last book and wrote 2 short stories as well.
Wow!
On that, because I found just the handwriting, like you say, your brain works differently, and handwriting seemed to flow much better than typing, even though I type all the time.
Can I ask you a question, Shaun? When you edit your books afterwards, do you actually edit on the screen?
Yes.
Because I tried that and I kept finding mistakes. So I printed a rough ass copy off of the book, and I've gone through, and you can see probably, I don't know whether you can see lots of red bits in there.
But I think that's quite a good idea, actually.
Because I tend to spot more things when it's written on paper.
Well, I was going to say, because on the screen, you've written it on the screen, so so I think you probably can become blind to some of the things. It's not only the mistakes in like grammatical and stuff like that, which I think I'm quite good at picking up. I'm quite good at not doing, but also quite good at picking up as I go. But the changes to the story, edits and expansions and that kind of thing, I'd probably see better if it's on paper as well.
Yeah, I print it out on A4 and then I have it in a ring bounder. Tim would like to know what the device or program was that you used to handwrite that converts it into Word. Does it convert it into Word? How do you get it?
Converts into text. So there's various ones like the Remarkable and Kindle Scribe, but they're quite closed systems. This is a VWoods. It's called VIWOODS, and it's their AI paper mini. So they have a big one, like a 10-inch one, and then this 8-inch one. So because it's pocketable, but I use it for meetings because it's got a diary, it's got its own email, it's got Google email, Hotmail, and all that stuff is on it. But then it's got loads of things. It's got access to Google Apps, but it's got notes, memos, a calendar, and all sorts of stuff on it. So whenever I'm buying some tech, which I love tech, I'm always buying new tech. I look into it very, very, very deeply, or reviews and that kind of thing. Like this laptop I'm just talking to you on, I did all the reviews, I AI'd the comparison so I could get processor things and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's great. And what I like about this, I mean, people are saying, well, why don't you just do it on an iPad? Well, I don't use Apple products, but my phone, which I nearly threw. My phone does that, so that's good for writing on as well. So I can do that with my phone and stuff.
That's really good.
But it's got a paper-like feel on it. It's textured, so when you're writing, you do feel like you're writing
on paper.
I just go into a document, and I can just you can hear it.
Clever.
You can hear the thing, but then you can draw on it, delete and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And do you get audio? Because when I either when I'm working on a client's book, editing is my day job, or my own, I drag and drop to my Kindle, or it has its own email address, so I can email it to my Kindle, and then it plays it. You were saying earlier on, Shaun, about that when you see things on the screen, you see it, don't we? We see it as we think we've written it. Yeah. Whereas on the Kindle is a Kindle Fire, which is the cheapest one going, and it has the text to speech function. So then I would just press the play button, and it will play it as it's written. And we've heard the advice from various sources saying that you should read your work aloud. And I print mine off on an A4 folder, and then I have the Kindle read it out to me as I'm going through it with a red pen. John, do you when you've finished, how far do you get before you start editing? Do you write the whole story and then go back? Because I know some people they'll finish a chapter, say late at night, and then they'll go back through it the following day, which I think, at least it's the next day.
2 or 3 chapters in front, but then I go back to the first chapter and fully edit that as much as I can.
Do you, without waiting?
And then move on to the 4th chapter, and then come back to the 2nd chapter and see whether that flows right from 1 to 2.
Right.
Yeah.
And then sort of because these books are only 7 chapters anyway.
So they're quite short.
There's not many to do in the children's book, so they and because they all happen in the same time period, the first chapter is almost identical.
Right.
It's just the journey after that. So what I do is I change the words around a little bit to give more more words that probably fit better. You get a chance of say 10 or 15 different words from the previous book, and then this next book will have 10 or 15 different to those too. So it takes some working out in the end.
And how quickly? It feels like you've written quite a few books in quite a short amount of time.
No, I've got 3 published.
Right.
I'm 3/4 of the way through the 4th one, but I've got notes for all the others, and I've almost got the ending one.
Yes.
Filling as I go along. But that's taken me 3 years.
Yeah. So about a year a book.
Plus, I've been doing other things as well. I've probably got about 4 or 5 other books part written anyway.
Yeah. Because I'm just wondering whether because it's practice. I think it was Somerset Maugham who said you have to write 1 million words to become I'm not sure of the exact terminology, but you are a writer when you've written 1 million words, which is quite depressing when you think that a novel is 70,000-80,000. That's a lot of books to get to 1 million words. But it's practice. Everything's practice. Andy practices at tennis. So do you write? We'll go John and then Shaun and then Andy. Do you try to write a set amount of words every day? Because my favorite statistic is 300 words a day is 109,500 words a year.
Right.
So 300 words a day is not a lot of time.
I write when inspiration comes.
Do you?
The other night I don't know, I must have had a dreaming about the book when I went to bed.
Yeah.
And I woke up and I thought, well, I've just dreamt the next chapter, so I had to scribble it down quick and then go back and enhance it a little bit, because you can dream something and you think, I'll remember that in the morning. Sometimes but I did that day, so I scribbled it down quickly.
Shaun.
Oh, can I just ask Shaun a question?
Yeah, do.
What are you making on your printer in the background? I can see it going and now it stopped.
Well, it's just stopped now. I have been creating things for writers, so it's like little book things with. So that's the thriller book. We've got a science fiction book.
Fabulous.
Wow. And I've done so I've designed those, but I've got a bag of stuff down here. A procrastination cube that's got like write on one side, but on the others it's got like make coffee, sleep, and that kind of stuff. A pen pot. I've got loads of stuff like that I've been designing. But
I only asked a question because I'm thinking about getting one of those done.
Well, yeah.
Just on the table, at a book fair.
A decent picture of it. I can do that for you
because it's got lots of charms around there as well. got
The
30.
detail in it's quite good as well, because I've just done this. I don't know whether you can see that. I've just done this for a friend, so it can
Right.
get really detailed.
Oh yeah.
Wow,
But actually, what's just printed is. Has any of you seen the film Project Hail Mary yet?
oh yes. Have you done a Rocky?
So
Is it
good. I've
Rocky? Have you
done a
done a Rocky?
Rocky, yes, but it's articulated as
Such a
well.
good film. We when we came out, we were quite prepared to go back in and watch it again.
I said the same thing. I went with my lad. I went with my lad, and he appreciated it as well. Probably not necessarily at all the same levels because he's 18 and that. But yeah, it was really good. So I have printed off a Rocky already for him, but I've printed off an articulated one for me.
Wow.
So you can pose it and stuff like it. It is so good.
Tuesday model. My lad's got one, but it's all packed away. I don't know. I don't know what model it is, but it's certainly the very basic one.
Well, this is my third actually. I've got one through in the spare room which I'm wanting to sell, which is a very good one, but I just upgraded to this one because if you can see on top, it's got 4 different colours on it, so I can print different coloured things. So you can see that this has got all the different colours on it for blue in the hand and all that sort of stuff, and it's all printed.
It's amazing.
It's not all blue or white, and you have to go and paint it all. You can actually get the colours.
No, or do parts of it and change the colours and stuff like that. But I've done things like I'm gonna put this on the Swan thing, but I've got like a writer's block, break in case of emergency, and it's like a little thing like that. There's pen pot with different things. I'm the character died, my bad, stuff like that. And then we've got plot twist coaster, we've got plot hole coaster, and we've got inspiration loading coasters. Right. So stuff like that, and there's other bits and everything there like that.
Very good.
So I'm designing on myself, which I'm.
We went off subject. I apologize.
That's okay. No, you're fine. No, you're fine. Oh, we do.
All about being creative.
I had this list of things we were going to cover, but I occasionally I'll look over and think, oh no, we haven't included that yet. We've got another comment from Tim in the chat. Thank you very much, Tim. I plan and usually know the ending by about 10,000 words, but I plan for midpoints, plot twists, write character studies before I begin. But my bugbear is I tend to get distracted by editing as I go, yet I find the first draft process difficult, but then enjoy going back to polish. Like Andy, I don't work chronologically because I have ideas for key points out of sequence. I'm very much the same. I get it. I say now I'm a plantser, so I do a very short 1 or 2 page plot, and all the stuff that I know at the beginning, and that's it. I don't think too hard. But then I get to a certain point, and I'm not sure what happens next. So I write more here, and then write a later bit, and carry on with that until I get stuck. I write a later bit, and then maybe the ending. And then once I've done the first draft, I know that I've got some more here's, and I literally just search for the phrase "more here," and I know what I can then add in to weave it all together.
I have a bit of a problem with the sequel book because I really don't know how it's going to end. I don't know whether NASA's going to get a job or he's not going to get a job.
Right.
Supporting the government. It's
here.
No, in Syria. Yeah,
right.
So he's waiting for the call up, and he still doesn't know when he gets the call up whether he's going to say yes or no.
Okay. Does he have a choice?
Well, he will do when he's offered the job.
Right.
2 of his brothers are back there and working for the government.
Mm.
One brother was the head of the police sports academy. Sports club, and he's sort of got his old job back. And his other brother was a captain in the traffic police, and having got a similar job when he was in Sweden, he's taking his expertise back to help with the infrastructure on the roads.
Right.
So two of them are back and settled.
Yes.
But again, life's not quite so simple for him.
No.
So yeah.
I've got Andy. We'll go Andy, then Shaun, then John. what's the best thing, in a way, indirectly advice for wannabe writers, the best thing and the most, a lot messages going off because I've got another meeting.
Yeah.
What's the cancel? What's the for you? What's the best thing and the most challenging thing about being a writer, Andy?
The best thing is when somebody's read what you've written and they want to talk to you about it.
Nice.
I really feel that's sort of a really big part of the conversation.
Mm.
The worst thing, um, walking down the high street with no clothes on.
Right. Which you got over by the following week, which is lovely.
Yeah, but
Sorry?
Oh yeah. Yeah, Andy was asked to do an article for a magazine, and when the first one came out, she said she was so nerve-wracked that her writing and her effectively herself was exposed, that she felt like she was walking down the high street with no clothes on. But
Not
by the
literally.
time the next
don't,
edition,
don't picture that one. No.
Too late. Sorry.
but by
I'm not
the time
expecting.
the next article came out,
Yeah.
she got over it. She was
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shaun, what about you as our fellow seasoned
Yeah.
writer? Best thing and
Yeah.
most challenging thing about being a writer?
So I think yeah. Well, I like seeing the stories come to life because I write to write rather than write to sell. I always have done. The fact that I've done all right out of it has been a bonus. But I like to see the stories, meet the characters, be surprised by the characters, and that kind of thing. But getting comments, like because I'm always writing, even if I'm not writing the book that I'm on. It's like some poetry or some flash fiction or stuff, and I tend to I put them on like Wattpad and stuff, and get amazing comments, and that is great to get those comments, to have people read what you have written and say that's really good, or that's creepy, or that's.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had somebody saying they was shivering and couldn't sleep for the current story that I'm writing for a contest, which is going up by chapters, and I've had comments like that on it, which is brilliant, and I'm just like, excellent. I'm so pleased you can't sleep. I'm so pleased you're scared. It's great.
Yes.
And
they're believing it, aren't they?
Yeah, they're believing it. And again, I was having a conversation last night about characters, saying it's the characters that are the story. What happens to them is almost incidental sometimes to what the character goes through and who they are and that kind of thing. But yeah, so it's when even like Gwen in Hollow, she becomes a serial killer, but people can appreciate why she's doing it, even though she's doing it wrong, and they tend to like her. So I really like stuff like that. The bad side of it is that you have to edit.
Right.
I don't even mind the bad reviews. I had somebody on Sin did a big long review of it and tore it to pieces.
Wow.
But then other people were going on and were like, I don't know what you're on about. That's one of my favorite parts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that don't bother me. People have got different opinions and they're allowed to be wrong. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't read my reviews, but the serial data was traditionally published back in the day, so I read the reviews early on, and I don't know how many 1-star reviews it got, but the first one I read, it said, I don't normally leave reviews for books, but this one was so bad I felt I had to, and that was 2018, and the same book was a blogger's favorite book of the year.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I call it my Marmite because you love it or you don't.
You will never please everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
So John,
I used to have conversations with Marmite. That was my old
oh
blog.
yes, you did.
Yes.
Your blog. Yes,
Yeah.
which you may or may not turn into a book.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the ether.
Good. Well, I'm glad that this whole NASA experience has got you back into writing.
Yeah.
And writing for you.
Yeah.
Rather than articles for somebody else. John,
recording the questions for me, it's very early for me. I don't know.
Right. What do you enjoy the most, and anything that frustrates you?
Well, I enjoy coming up with different ideas. I tried not just, I mean, with the kids' books, I've added things in to make them interactive. With the perfume bottle, I've done in between chapters, and the in between chapters is the bottle actually talking because
Okay. I
it's
love in
spread
I
across,
love inanimate objects getting a life of their own.
spread across centuries from 1200 BCE up until
Yeah.
today, and hopefully there will be a sequel to that because if you could see the whole book,
Mm,
it's the bottle, the desert scene, and the
right.
moon. Book two will be the bottle, the moon, and Earth.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I'm
How
working
did you
towards
get? I'm curious. You showed us sort of like a proof copy earlier on.
yeah.
Did you get that as a proof copy from Amazon? Did you, or
Did I what?
did you
No,
get
no,
that?
I printed it myself.
Oh, did
So
you? And then
just see how,
bound it.
yeah, just put a bit of tape on it and glued it. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
So I just
Oh, very
you
good.
see, it all starts with a picture like that and
Yeah.
the shape of the charm.
Right.
And then there's an illustration of the characters, and then
Oh,
the
yes.
chapter, and then there's an in between chapter 5.5,
Oh, yes.
bottle speaking.
I like the font.
So I'm trying to do the next one, which is called quickly because we've got to go to another meeting, called Tattoo,
Hmm.
and I want to do an audio book. I want to do a graphic novel of it as well.
Right. Right.
Now, to do that, obviously, I need actors and voiceovers and
Sure.
artists. I'm thinking about going down the Kickstarter route.
Oh, yes. That's a good idea.
And then the
Crowdfunding.
Kickstarters, I'm doing in between, not in between chapters, but extra chapters based on the characters.
Yeah. And what does your daughter think of you having written about her little
Oh,
character that she was?
she's quite excited to begin with. It's just all that
Oh,
now. You don't got another one
yeah.
out there.
Right.
Oh.
Oh, bless. Well, for me, the best thing is, and I say to people, write 300 words a day. It's very easy. It won't take you very long. And I can't remember the last thing I wrote from scratch. So
Yeah.
I need to be writing. My husband's put heating in our summer house, and we're moving, getting a new sofa. So we're moving my beloved cuddle chair in there. So I'm going to go there with my laptop with no Wi-Fi, switch the Wi-Fi off. And I'm going to sit and write. So emails up to 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock to 12 writing, and then work 12 till 5, and then emails last thing. That's the plan. So for me, the best thing is writing.
I had a summer
Equally,
house last year. That's where I just came
oh,
from.
did you?
So yeah.
Yeah.
But equally, the industry. Everybody is so lovely, with very few exceptions.
Yes.
It's such a lovely industry to be in. But I say, other than oil riggers, because that's a tough job, we are in one of the toughest industries, because we are on minimum wage if we're lucky.
Yeah.
But we love
Better than
it,
that.
and everybody's so supportive of everybody else. So it's wonderful. The
Yeah.
trickiest thing, I think, is the dreaded marketing. We are on, for us self-published authors, we're on our Todd unless we pay somebody, or you have somebody who's waving the banner for you on your behalf.
Yeah.
And so yes, it's tricky, and I have days where I think I must be mad. I should go and stack shelves in a supermarket where every little helps. But I'm in it for the long haul. So
Yeah.
You know,
But I'm going to
you
go.
said that.
yes, okay, thank you, John.
All right. Thank you very much. You
All right,
enjoyed it.
no
Thank
problem.
you. Bye
Thank
bye.
You know,
you.
you said
See you soon.
about the 300 words. For
Yes.
the first time ever today, I was conscious of how many words I was writing.
How were you?
Yeah, it was. I just never ever look at it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
But I think, how long is a piece of string? If you're
Yeah.
able, this is why I want to write in the morning, because I'm more of a morning person anyway. But then if I can keep going, then I'd like to keep going. But I need to be more disciplined about ignoring emails and ignoring things that can wait. So
That's one of the reasons why I wanted this, because yes, it has access to emails and that kind of thing, but I can just leave them off and just write. It's
yeah,
great.
yeah. I'm going to
sure.
ask Tim
What's it
for this.
called?
Tim for the same question. Sorry, bear with me. Tim, the same question in the chat, because he's still with us. The best. Oh, here we go. I'm going to unmute you. Your favourite aspect of being in writing, and the most challenging for you.
I thoroughly enjoy getting lost in the story. For me, it's a bit like reading a good book, but you're making the decisions to where it goes. But I also like the craft of actually shaping the text at the end and making sure the words are right. And then for me, I'm just about to self-publish my first book, but only because I've just bought the rights back off the publisher for the book that I'd done before.
Yeah.
And I want to sort of do more that way. But I find the marketing is the problem.
Yes.
I like doing meetings. I've done talks and things like that. And I've done that. And I used to be a teacher. So, standing in front of people doesn't bother me. But the marketing absolutely baffles me. And it's so time consuming.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And the trouble is there are hundreds of thousands of writers, of authors going on Facebook. I belong to almost 600 book related Facebook groups. And you go in any of them and I've got a new book. Sometimes I've had a book out for 10 years. It's not doing very well. Please go and buy my book.
Yeah.
And variations on a theme. And so when you've got all these voices and the people above the parapet saying, please go and buy my book. This is part of the reason why I do the author spotlights, because the whole point behind marketing really is to meet somebody you haven't read before, and why I went with the Self Pub Fest. We're really nice people. We love our babies. We've spent months nurturing our babies. They're now off to university. Please look after them, and please enjoy spending time with them. So it's getting, I think, for a lot of reasons, it's getting to know the author themselves. And then liking the sound of what they're doing.
Yeah, I wrote for ages and didn't know anybody else that wrote at all, because I kind of got into it on my own, initially writing the textbooks.
Yeah.
But then I went along to something at Birmingham University, and then went along to a literary group, and then got accepted on this Arts Council sponsored group. And suddenly I knew people that wrote.
Yes.
And that was just a complete eye-opener, because I had no expertise, and suddenly you get surrounded by people that are A, encouraging, and B, know so much more than you do.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I'm new to a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks into New Street Authors. And obviously I knew of you from being involved with Self Pub Fest. But we have skill shares and various aspects, and it's lovely being in a group that's so supportive, and anybody can ask anything. And I think that's the thing. I compare us to learner drivers. We all started with a blank page. We all sat in our first car with an instructor next to us, or parent next to us, advising us how to drive this car. And then people are, you would hope, nice to you along the way and give you a bit more space and don't honk when you're being too slow or so on.
Yeah, writing West Midlands helped me a lot initially.
Oh yes.
So I'm more recent. I've been probably New Street Authors 12 months.
Yeah.
But it is, you just need the people around you, I think.
Yeah.
To keep you going.
And
to realise you're not strange, because it's strange, isn't it, to admit you wrote a book.
Right.
People, so
wonderful. Yeah. I did a WI talk yesterday, and I feel less self-conscious these days when I say, would you like me to sign it for you? But it's like they're looking up at me as if I'm on a pedestal. Would you? I'm paying you money to give me something that you've created, and you're going to sign it for me as well. And I'm just as thrilled. It's a thrill 20 years on.
It's really nice when somebody's read your book and tells you that they've enjoyed it.
Absolutely, as Shaun says. Yeah.
I did do a event. It was like an Easter fair on Sunday, and people were asking me to sign my books, and I said, well, if you want it devalued,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go because my 7 o'clock is
Yes.
Yes, I'm
asking where
supposed
I
to
am.
use a 7 o'clock one
So
as well.
thank you.
Yeah.
This
Thank
is
you.
always lovely, especially to
Bye-bye.
have people we weren't expecting. So it's great. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, John. And Shaun, lovely to see you here for the first time. Always a pleasure to have you here, Andy. So thank you very much, and
Thank
see
you
you
very much.
soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.